Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be talking about maesuma top 11. It was a super major that happened this weekend and this was one of the most unexpected tournaments I've ever seen. The amount of upsets here are actually unreal. In 13th place we had Kome, Oi George, Yoshidora and level 1. In 9th place we had Shutone, Riziasu, Neo and YN. In 7th place we had Yara and Kananebe. In 5th place we had Courage and Jogabu. 4th place we had Osimo. 3rd place we had ACOLA. 2nd place Ken. And 1st place Mio. We're going to be going over some of the upsets, all the top 16, and then a couple players that fell along. Most of the massive upsets runs actually made it to the top 16, so we're going to talk about them there, and instead we're just going to talk about players that didn't make it to the top 16, because there's a lot of faces that fell pretty early. The biggest one probably being T, getting out at 17th place, losing to Neo and Osimo. Now the losses themselves aren't that bad. Neo is a massive up-and-comer right now, and Osimo went on a monsters losers run of himself, but this is one of the lowest places we've had for T in a pretty long time. Like, he had a weak main stage, but it wasn't this bad, as well as it being one of his worst performances in Japan, because T, at least as of late, has been doing pretty well in Japan. You know, he won winter, he got second at Umebura, but this is a massive drop of form. He will probably bounce back, he's probably going to be fine, but at least now he has like a blemish on his record, because before that he was one of those like top 10 players that really didn't, and now it kind of takes him down a little bit, at least in the rankings. Now, one of the biggest runs of the tournament, even though it's a massive underperformance for them, is going to be Hiro, who got rocked out in round 3 of pools to Yonpai. That is pretty crazy, but then he also made an absolutely ridiculous loser run, starting off with Yama, which is immediately a very good win. Surprised he had to play Yama that early, to be honest, but again, the upsets are crazy. Toraguri, Tara, Kisha, and then he goes into fighting a Torie, which is again another player that fell fairly early, and then he does unfortunately ran into Yoshidora, who also got upset earlier on the bracket. We'll talk about that in a second, but a pretty good losers run from Hiro, all things considered. But then again, it is still a pretty big underperformance, especially considering like how good he has been. He's such a consistent player, one of the top threats in Japan. So not a great tournament from him, but at least he got a couple of good wins along the way. And the final player that we're going to take a look at before getting onto the top 16 is going to be Dora Gimi, who had another insane losers run. They lost to Ron fairly on in the pool side of it. Also, shouts to Ron because he had 17th place here. His first major back, he did extremely well, but Dora Migi had a very, very nice losers run. And along the way, they got a win on our Tora, and that Tora win, it's going to go up. Tora is an amazing player. He's so good. So that's a very, very good one to have at the start of the season, because I think Tora stocks are only going to get better and better. And sorry that we're not talking about as many players here, because you're just going to focus on the top 16, because there's a lot of juice in this top 16. The amount of losers on here are simply ridiculous. So if there's any players that I left out, please let me know down below, but let's just get right into it. So our 13th place finishers are level 1, Yoshidora, Oi George, and Kome. Our first one in Kome got wins on Shirayuki and Ron. Again, Kome just one of those very, very consistent players, and we also predicted him over performance he'd get that win in Shirayuki, and he did, so that's a very good sign for him. Just an amazing player, and that's another great result for him. Oi George got wins on a Torie and Dora Migi. Oi George is looking like he wants to be the best midman in Japan right now, and it is tough because, you know, Proto does exist, so I don't really think of him when I'm thinking about best midman, because he hasn't really been playing for a while. I'm thinking like Omatsu is also really good, but Oi George is definitely in that conversation. He is absolutely incredible and should be very happy with this one. Now, the other one in Yoshidora, he probably shouldn't be as happy. He still did get wins on Takara and Hiro. Those are two very good wins to have, but this is a massive underperformance for him. I think he was seeded second. He only lost to Riziasu and Jogabu. Again, losses aren't terrible, but for his caliber player, it does hurt him a little bit. Though this is like one of his first bad performances ever, at least since he's been like a super top 10, top 15 threat player. So everyone has bad performances. I wouldn't worry about it too much. I'm sure he bounces back. And then probably the most impressive run of the 13th place finishers is going to be level 1, who got upset in pools and then had just a ridiculous lose run with wins on Ryu, Marrow, Injelly, Showers, and Daikon. He looked incredible this weekend. He wants to be the best Young Link in the world, or rather Toon Link in the world, which is like crazy. That's the title you have to confess for. And it's a title you have to confess for with another Japanese player. Him and Sigma have been battling it out, but level 1 has been getting a lot of reps on his belt and started to inch that title closer and closer towards him. He is looking very, very strong and had an amazing weekend. Our 9th place finishers are Shutone, Riziasu, Neo, and YN. Starting off with YN, he got wins on Kome, Passeriman, and Iam. This is probably his best performance ever, and honestly, probably the best performance a Zelda has ever had in a major, because this is ridiculous. This is such a high peak. YN probably definitely regarded as the best Zelda in the world right now, because again, this is incredibly impressive, and it wasn't like he got 3 wins along the way. He had to earn those wins at Passeriman and Kome one specifically. Iam as well just had another amazing performance for him. Like, those players are all absolutely incredible, so he should be super happy with this one. Neo as well got wins on T and Shirayuki. Huge up-and-comer in Japan right now, in contention for best corner corn in the world and putting one of best corn's results on the table up to that big house run with Shattuck. Like, those are both amazing runs. Neo looked amazing here. He also had a really good tournament the weekend before this, so Neo is like definitely a threat right now in Japan you have to look out for. He's just been doing consistently pretty well. Next one's going to be Riziasu with wins on Rarik and Yoshidora. Rarikusu, by the way, full name, just in case you didn't know. The Yoshidora win, ridiculous. That is such a massive win for Riziasu, and he's always been one of those caliber of players, and he just slowly gets those wins along the way. It's like, oh, here's a tournament where he got like a Pasariman win. Oh, he got a Ken win here. That's pretty good. He got a Yoshidora. He got a Shuto win. He's going to get an ACOLA win next. Riziasu is simply ridiculous, and all of his characters are always up to snuff. Sorry, my mic cut out, but our final 9th place finisher was Shutone with wins on Oi George and Senra. Now, this is like 3 bad performances from Shutone in a row. The first one was 5th at a major, or super major in Umeboro, which is like actually just not a bad performance, but for a player of his standard, it was a little bit low. Then he got 17th at Kagaribio, which is just like actual typical bad, and now he has a 9th place here. A couple rough performances in a row, especially considering how strong the end of his 2022 was. Not a great start to the 2023, but even still, these aren't like end of the world performances. He's not getting like a 65th, a 33rd. He's not like drowning in pools. The sets aren't close. He's still doing well. It just isn't quite to that same standard. I'm sure he'll bounce back though. Maybe it's a little bit more of the Almar. Maybe it's only ages now. I don't really know what the balance is going to be, but I imagine Shutone is definitely that caliber of player that he won't get too disgruntled by this, but still another performance from Shutone here for sure. 7th place finishers are Kananebe and Yara. Kananebe right now is one of Japan's most scary players. He's been improving so rapidly. He's like in the top 5. It's like him, Senra, Tora, Yara, Tsubaki. All those players are incredibly scary. He got wins on YN, Loki, and Riziasu. When you think about Fox, you usually only think about Light, but now Pasariman, Kananebe, like Comet, there's so many Fox players that have definitely been stepping up to the game, and Kananebe, he's looking like he wants the number 1 spot because he has been doing very, very well. I believe this is his first top 8 in a major, so he should be pretty happy with that. And then we have Yara, who had probably one of, not if these, it's like either second or first most impressive lose run in the bracket. He lost to Shion really, really early on in pools, and then beat Takara, Iam, Gact, Oi George, and Neo to get into this top 8. He did eventually lose to Jogabu, who also had won the runs though. So Yara, another top 8 for him. Such an amazing player. Probably the best Samus in the world. Now, I would argue, even though Siski's really, really good, and I haven't seen Siski for a while, so he's probably just going to come back to return and make me shut up right away. But I'm going to huff this copium because, oh my god, Yara is simply ridiculous. Our 5th place finishers are Courage and Jogabu, both of them playing Falcon, getting some of the best Falcon performances we have ever seen. One of them through winner side, one of them through losers. Courage through the winner side of bracket, getting wins on Daikon and Niu. He is so good. We predicted him to do well this bracket because I saw his performances from the last couple weeks. I thought, you know what? He's going to overperform Seed. I didn't think he would do it like this in this fashion. He played out of his mind. Very, very impressed by him. I hope we get to see more. Same thing with Jogabu, who's just been like such a consistent threat. Got wins on Yoshidora, Tora, YN, and Yara. He beat the Samus brothers. He beat some of the strongest Samus players in the world right now. Probably the best seller in the world, and by far the best Yoshi in the world, a top 15 player. Such a ridiculous run for him. And did it both with Falcon. Again, character like Falcon, not someone I think very, very highly of. When I see a run with Falcon, I'm like, this is impressive, especially to this caliber. Both these guys should be very happy, and now it looks like they're battling for that title of best Falcon. That's kind of been given up with Fatality, taking a bit of a break from the game, at least not trying as hard. Like, you still have Sean, who's very, very good, but I'd say these two guys are battling out for it, and they're both in contention because they just had amazing runs here. Our 4th place finisher of Osimo had one of the most monsters losers runs I have ever seen in Ultimate. Also, he lost to YN. I forgot to mention that when I was doing the YN part. So another huge shout out to YN because that's a massive, massive win. I'm sure I'll edit it in that he actually did win there. But anyways, on to Osimo, who, oh my god, got so many wins. He has wins on Gorika, Terakatori, Saboten, T, Level 1, Shutone, Kananebe, and Courage. Not only did he get wins on T and Shutone, who were 5, like, 2 are like top 10 players in the world, top 5 in Japan. He also got a bunch of Japan's top 10 along the way. Osimo is so good right now, coming hot off that second at Kagaribi. Had a very, very close set with ACOLA, barely couldn't close it out. But Osimo's looking incredibly strong, looking like he wants to be top 20 in the world. If he isn't already, again, top 20 Ultimate right now is a very hard title to get, but Osimo is honestly someone that could definitely be in conversation for that, because these past 2 tournaments have been unreal for him. Our 3rd place finisher was ACOLA, and yes, you heard me right, you don't need to check your headphones. I'm not lying to you. ACOLA did get 3rd place. He still got wins on Ron, Kananebe, Omatsu, and Jogabu, but this is a pretty massive underperformance for him. He lost to Mia and Ken. Mia has been someone that he has been doing very well against, but Mia finally figured it out, so props in for that. Ken as well, using Sonic in that set, at least only Sonic from what I saw. Maybe I missed a game or two, but Ken taking that with Sonic, pretty interesting. ACOLA, an underperformance from it was all Steve, and from what I saw, the Steve tech was basically non-existent. It didn't really matter. Also, he got a win on Osimo. If not, obviously I forgot to say that, but ACOLA did beat Osimo, but didn't really see the Steve Tech at all, so maybe it's not that prevalent, but maybe he was going for the Steve Tech a lot of the time, and it was putting him in bad situations. That's not impossible as well, though I just think mainly it's the other people figured it out, so pretty interesting. An underperformance nonetheless, but it's like, it's only third. He will bounce back, I can guarantee it. Excited to see him at Summit, because maybe he'll have like a new passion, be doing really, really well. You know, he usually dominates Japan, maybe got a little complacent, got kicked down, he's going to bounce back, win all of Summit. I honestly wouldn't be surprised, but third place, it isn't the end of the world. Our second place finisher of Ken was looking extremely strong this weekend, and coincidentally was playing mainly Sonic. That probably has nothing to do with it that he's playing Sonic instead of Sephiroth, but I don't know, maybe it could have helped a little bit. He got wins on Rizziasu, Jogabu, Injelly, Carriage, and ACOLA. That ACOLA one is absolutely massive, as it kind of speaks for itself, because ACOLA is simply crazy, but Ken was looking very, very strong this weekend, and the Sephiroth was still good. It definitely still helped. It's definitely still a good Komen that he has. Again, Ken being one of the best Komens in the world right now, with that combination of Sephiroth and Sonic, and he does think that Sephiroth is the better character, which is simply crazy to me because of how good Sonic is and how bad Sephiroth is. Not that Sephiroth's actually bad, but of course, in contrast, my lord. But Ken, he made it work this weekend, was looking very, very good. Again, only losing to Mia is pretty impressive, and ACOLA win is always massive, plus a couple good ones along the way. Ken is looking like he wants to be considered in that top 5 for Japan again, because he was kind of out of the conversation for a little bit towards the end of 2022, even the start of 2023, but now he's looking pretty strong, so Ken should be very happy with this run. But someone that should be super happy with their performance this weekend is going to be, of course, Mia, who missed top 8 at Umabora just barely and had a pretty bad Kagaribi. Here he went crazy with wins on Passeriman, Gact, Shutone, ACOLA, and Ken twice. It wasn't like he had an easy bracket. He didn't have an upset bracket. He wasn't seeded too high, so he had to play some crazy players, and he pulled through. He played so well. I didn't think he was going to be able to beat Shutone because I thought Aegis would rock him, but he looked very promising versus Shutone. I mean, obviously he won the set, but way better. Even if I thought he was going to win, he looked way more dominant than I thought. He just played out of his mind. Was looking incredibly clean. Finally got that win on ACOLA. Now I was like, hey guys, I know I had a couple bad performances, but I'm still a top 10, top 15 player. Mia looking absolutely ridiculous. Getting another major win under his belt, should be super happy with this one. And he did this one through the winner's side. And a lot of his recent majors, they've been through losers, so another nice change for him. It's like, hey, didn't drop any sets for that one. That has to be a massive motivator. Really excited for what his next tournament is, and I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Again, I know we didn't cover as many players as we usually do in this video, but there were so many upsets going into top 16 that I wanted to give the main attention to these players. But if there's anyone that I left out, please let me know down below. If there's anything that I got wrong, please let me know. I know I messed up the wide end thing earlier, but I did clarify, so hopefully we don't see too many about that. Sorry about that one, but yeah, thank you guys for everything. Sport's been absolutely unreal lately, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.